I've actually had the blessing of being able to pray for more than one sweet soul that sadly had to face the difficult challenge of really living with the burden of experiencing some of the abominable abuses and suffering that we've spoken of and discussed on this channel in real life. And they bear that huge burden, for the most part, alone. Sweet souls who desire freedom, yet they were made to now involuntarily struggle with diverse symptoms which very few of their friends, family, or even clergy can truly find the patience to be able to understand. When the mind has experienced certain trauma, the damage that can be done to the brain, the personality, and the soul result in diverse injuries. And rather than scars and bruises that are visible to the body, these people suffer from wounds like brokenheartedness and deep inner hurt. Invisible, but painful wounds nonetheless. Sometimes this hurt is misunderstood by those who only see this victim's behavior as quote-unquote erratic. Even more sadly, the enemy wants to leave these sweet struggling souls all alone, with none to fend for them, let alone to keep them company. I can also say that more than one of these sweet souls were in relative seclusion and isolation because of the trauma they faced and their misunderstood responses to that trauma. And quite frankly, they had only their furry friend as a daily companion. Here's a short story about one of those sweet, gentle souls and their furry feline family member. It was a warm summer afternoon. This person recently began recovering memories of child and sexual abuse from when they were a child, at the hands of their own father, a supposed minister. On this particular afternoon, the weight of these new revelations was bearing down upon them, revelations that brought not only new mental and psychological challenges for them, but new physical challenges as well. The medication that this wounded but sweet soul had been prescribed for now present seizures caused them to get unexpectedly and uncontrollably drowsy as a side effect. So on this particular day, they fed their cat, Panda Bear, and settled down to watch some online ministries for peace and comfort, but quickly drifted off to sleep. While they were asleep, the dryer in the basement, which had been drying a load of clothes, unexpectedly caught fire. With no one there but Panda Bear, this seemingly normal day for them could have ended tragically. But the little furry friend meowed and stroked her owner vigorously until they finally roused, and just in time to call the fire department too. But just like the devil, in the midst of firemen entering and exiting the home, little Panda Bear, who had spent all her life indoors and wasn't accustomed to being outside, became fearful of all these strange humans and activity around her, and she ran out of the home. Though the fire was extinguished, the only companion of an isolated and secluded soul who was still in the midst of their healing had run away. The bond that they had was special and unique. You see, they depended upon one another and were vessels through which they could both give and receive love in the way that we're all designed to give and receive love to and from one another. So, of course, this sweet soul was understandably heartbroken and distraught beyond compare, without the comforting presence of their loyal companion, Panda Bear. See, for a person who's sick and shut in, sometimes just knowing that the Lord is with you isn't nearly enough all the time, especially when the sickness has brought about isolation for that sick and or shut-in individual. A week passed, and still no Panda Bear. It was heartbreaking for me to hear, and I couldn't imagine how difficult it was for her owner, a person healing from ritual child abuse trauma, to have to experience. Simply replacing the cat with another cat was not the easy fix that those who don't understand these relationships may think it is. In situations like these, Get Pet Connected or GPC smart tags, a non-invasive, easy-to-use and remove locator tag, would have helped alleviate days of trauma and loneliness that some folks simply just cannot afford to have. Well, the cat came back. Not exactly. And it wasn't the very next day. It took almost 2 weeks before her owner finally heard the faint but familiar sound of Panda Bear's meowing voice coming from outside the lonely and still house. She was cowering outside beneath the bushes of the home's front yard and was trembling with fright from her undoubtedly scary experience in a world that she'd never known. The likelihood is she ran just far away enough to become disoriented and then lost, having never seen her home from the outside and being driven by fear that day. The owner initially looked for Panda Bear, of course, and it's likely that the confused kitty also wanted to be back at home and just couldn't find her way back. This little, easy-to-use, non-invasive tag would have spared both the little one and especially her sick and shut-in owner a lot of grief and, quite honestly, trauma. We will be sending a tag for Panda Bear just in case she ever gets lost again. In situations like these, Get Pet Connected or GPC smart tags, a non-invasive, easy-to-use and remove locator tag, would have helped alleviate days of trauma and loneliness that some folks simply just cannot afford to have. So if this is the type of product that you may be interested in for yourself or a loved one who could benefit from it, please see the description box below and the information following this video. Those of you who are familiar with this channel already know what I stand for, and that's the rights of all individuals, the children, the so-called mentally ill, the lost, the misaligned, the poor, and even God's creatures who stand on all four. So if I endorse it, then I'm recommending it to my family and friends, and I must think it is an effective and blessed product brought to us by a longtime viewer, faithful supporter, and most importantly, brother in Christ, our very own Brother Wren. And this is not a sales pitch. This is information about a product and a special limited time free offer for the Angels of Mercy who work with or at humane societies, shelters, animal rescues, and the likes. We'll ship you a sample box of the locator tags free of charge, and you can see if there's an interest and demand for this blessed and helpful invention in your community. Thank you, and may God bless you and your furry friends and family too.